Alrighty, figure I'd do a quick garden update. It is March 2nd, so it's the beginning of the year. Over here, it's just a bunch of clutter and stuff. A couple pieces from the old Cats Stadium that just got torn down. A bunch of leaves. I'll get to that here in a second, but I have so many leaves. These ones are just sitting here. I have a pecan tree I want to plant this year. I need to figure out a location exactly. But that's one of the goals. This is the remnants from last year's garden. Most of this out here froze to death. I just transplanted a ton of cilantro into here, so I'm hoping these guys go okay. This is one of the perennials that's popping back up. I forgot which one that is, but it has like bulbs, I believe. Most everything else over here died. There's a lemon thyme I have planted. Nothing, a bunch of nothing. So most of this is just waiting to be planted. I do have some catnip growing back. I think the mint, I'm not sure if it's going to survive the last freeze we had, but that's kind of the issue. I have a whole bunch of dirt ready to go. I do have some mushrooms now. I got some mushroom compost blocks from my usual spot, Texas Fungus. I now have, I think, 60 compost blocks ready to go. There's actually more, but these are the ones in plastic bags that I'm still trying to grow. I have a red oak I want to plant somewhere over here by these bags of leaves. Whole bunch of little seedlings. These are the only seedlings I have. There's some broccoli plants over there, but otherwise, like, I have these seedlings, and then I've now purchased seedlings. This year I've been lazy and did not start any seedlings. So I've got a lot going on lately, so that's what I'm working on. Like, I'll buy plants more, but I'll try to get some seeds started. I've gotten 100 bags of leaves. So I've got a bunch of leaves ready to go. These are my mushroom compost blocks from last season, but I still have some mushrooms growing in there, so they will still produce, even though they're mostly spent and not much coming out of them. But I'm going to shred my leaves with my leaf shredder and mix it up with mushroom compost, and then I have a bunch of Starbucks coffee bags of coffee. So I have been collecting coffee for a minute for my leaf, which I will shred in to make mulch. I have this ring of leaves here, which are the heaviest bags of leaves, so they're quite solid on a lot of them. But anyways, I'll run my leaf shredder, fill this up with a pile of shredded leaves, mushroom compost, and coffee as my base brown for cover in the garden, and mixing into my compost with 100 bags of leaves, 50 mushroom compost blocks, and tons of coffee. It'll make quite a big pile. Over here I have my hops growing. They have not popped up yet, but they were close when I was looking at them, because though I think I might see a spear. I'm not sure. There's something green back there. But anyways, I've redone the poles so I can make it a little taller this year. I still need to lock it down a little better, but they are. I was like, what is that? Is that a rabbit? There's a mag flying around, just like in American Beauty. Watch it fly around in the yard. But anyways, have a ton of pole stuff. So last year I built a garden shade canopy cover for my garden, and this year I have more poles to make an even bigger one. I need to get more fittings. Some of this stuff is just clutter and old poles from fences and stuff, but most of this is going to be used for my fence fitting stuff. So I'll make a giant canopy. I could cover almost the entire garden, and that's going to be the goal, because at some point this old beat up tree is going to go, because it's half dead. And like you can see it right here, that like this is just, the left side of this tree is dead. But I've been using it for my garden shade for a long time, so I've been wanting to put my red oak here and let that start growing and replace this. But in the interim, I will need shade to protect the garden from the sun. So anyways, I've been collecting all these extra pipes. Some neighbors threw away a bunch, like, replace their fence, and I was like, I'll take that. And I have a whole bunch of other pipes I had over there, and then those were too big, so I just might get rid of those. So anyways, so garden right now, it is ready to be tilled. This year is a till year. I have a bunch of rabbit manure. I got all this rabbit manure, and so I'm going to scrape off the mulch is one of the next things. There's a giant bucket right here, and I have been ripping up weeds. So I spent about I don't know, 45 minutes picking weeds on this section. I'm leaving this section for later. I'm not going to try to do that today. Too much work. But anyways, this is all weeds. But down here I have a bunch of cilantro growing. So when I was like, there's a bunch of cilantro back there, cilantro, this is slated to get tilled regardless of the cilantro. So I'm trying to uproot this cilantro and transplant it, but there's like so much that I'm just about to have to let some of it go. But I'm gonna do at least one more big harvest of the rest of the cilantro and just kind of throw it in pots and stuff like that. Otherwise, over here, I'm mildly distracted by the song, so I'm going to turn it off real quick. Although this is the jam. Tyrone by My Morning Jackets. Pause. Well, actually, screw it. I'll go with it. Anyways, so can't be totally distracted by music as I'm trying to discuss. So over here, some frost damage from 15-degree weather on my parsley, but it still seems to be alive. Strawberries. They have taken over this whole section over here. A bunch of strawberries. These were all runners from last year, and they have taken over. Rosemary's looking really good, and I planted a ton of garlic over here. So there's a bunch of garlic growing for this year, right in this section. I was just like, the main issue with garlic is that you need to put it in early and give it a permanent spot kind of for the season. And a lot of time I'd plant it back there or somewhere where Zora's digging. She's like, is this where the garlic is, Dad? But I till this section, and that's what I'm about to do at least. So the garlic is better in this section, which I don't till because I have a permanent section. Like the rosemary's there, the strawberries are there. It's a giant oregano plant and kale. All these guys are permanent residents, so they'll stick around through the winter and stuff. So you don't till the sections right back here. Let's see if we have any asparagus going. Actually, I haven't seen any so far. Let me see any asparagus. So I have a big asparagus plant right here, and I probably should rip up this catnip. That's too interfering with where my asparagus should be. But I'm not really seeing much asparagus yet, which I'm kind of surprised. But usually it pops up. Oh wait, here we go. There is the first asparagus spear of the season that I've noticed. Here we are. So, cool. Asparagus is now here. And there's a bunch of catnip and henbit. So, henbit is essentially a weed to me, but it is fully edible, and it is a great plant for bees. But I don't feel bad ripping it up at all. It comes back every year. It's early season. And it is something you could forage for and make salads out of if you want to. Here's another asparagus, two more asparagus right here. So these are brand new plants essentially. Or well, not brand new, but brand new to about harvesting range. Here's another asparagus. So asparagus is now kicking into gear. I didn't even notice it, and then all of a sudden, bam, they just all start popping up. And my goal is to get this whole section to be asparagus growing as much as possible, but there's also catnip everywhere. So I can start harvesting asparagus today. Yeehaw, there's at least a couple. So harvest early and often is the best thing to do. But asparagus, like the other section in herbs and stuff, needs a permanent selection. So this is never going to get tilled, ever. This is this home for asparagus. And I'll have to just handpick any weeds that grow in here out of here, like all this henbit, because I can't see what's going on underneath all the henbit growing everywhere. So no worries. I'll leave this section here of henbit for the time being. This is my broccoli plants though. This is pretty sad because I was like, should I harvest it? It's gonna get pretty cold. And I didn't, and it all died. All my broccoli plants. So I'm gonna have to rip these up. That's live. Below 20 degrees, harvest your broccoli. Otherwise it's gonna freeze to death and get like freezer burn damage. I could have probably picked it the night it froze and then saved it, but otherwise. So compost. I have a lot of compost going. I've been dumping extra stuff into this bucket and let it break down, but this one is the current kind of compost going down. My old pumpkin, a few old things in there, but it's probably, yeah, don't want to stick my hand too much in there right now, but it should be pretty warm. This compost is about ready, and then I have 3 cubic yards of compost that is ready. So what I need to do next is get this section ready for tilling. So I'm going to go through, pick the rest of the cilantro out of here after I'm done with this video. Then I'm going to rake off all the mulch, and then I will start getting the manure ready. I'm probably going to run the lawnmower around the edges next, actually, first before I do anything. But the main issue really with the garden is you end up, after a year or two, you end up with grass runners going all throughout this, and they are not easy to rip up. So do you want to manually rip it up or just run a machine and do it all at once and use the tiller? But since I have a whole bunch of rabbit manure also, I'm going to add rabbit manure, which last time I did, it worked. I didn't put it in last year and I didn't till last year, but the year before the garden was way better. So I spent $100 on 20 bags of rabbit manure. And I will add that all to the garden. But over here, yeah, I've picked out a lot of extra freezer burn plants. All the tops of the lettuce, the onions look like crap because it like froze. And then my giant oregano plant, which is almost, I was trying to debate if it's marjoram or oregano. I think it is oregano, but labeled marjoram when I bought it. But anyways, it is like 6 by 6 foot, but it took a beating from the freeze, so I might pare it back. But if you start ripping these up, these guys are rooted in the ground, so it's just gonna probably reestablish itself, and I could probably transplant a ton of these also. So we'll see what I can do there. But otherwise, this section is going to be the next later project after I'm done with this one. I do this slightly differently since it's so close to the fence where it drains out. That ladder right there is exactly where all the water will drain out of the backyards whenever it rains for about the next 4 backyards down. So it can be 4 inches deep. So I don't have mulch in this section because it'll wash out and form a dam at the fence. It's happened before where it's 6 inches deep and the bottom of that blue rung would be like filled with water just in my yard from a dam of mulch. So this section doesn't get mulch since it's near the washout zone, but this one does. And it needs it in this section also because it gets hotter here during the sun, or during the summer, because it's right out in the sun, like wide open, almost full sun. So this needs shade, needs mulch, because that's how it goes in Texas. It will bake everything otherwise. So anyways, that's the state of the garden right now. I'll get more stuff done soon. And yeah. Anyways, I will pick back up later. I got a lot to do.